This ball game will boil down to three things. Three things. Number one, the team that hits the hardest and the longest, the team that starts the fastest, and the team is too damn smart to make mistakes. It's too smart to make mistakes, and that team will win without any question. If you take it to them, if you don't make mistakes, and you keep taking it to them, hell, there's no question who will win. There's no question who will win. Now let's go out and do it. Let's go.
And with that, it is Hate Week. Before the battle, the Team Up North edition of the Coach and the Couch Potato, brought to you by the Bar and Baseball and Softball Academy and Cornerstone Home Remodeling. As always, I am Jeremy the Couch Potato. Opposite side of the screen, we got Coach Slate. We made it.
Yeah, it's about time, man. This is my favorite time of the football season. I love this, man. Getting to watch this with my dad pretty much every year. It's just something I look forward to, man. And I hate the Team Up North. There's just no way around it. You would think I was putting on a jersey on Saturday, but I'm excited, man. I'm excited. Buckeyes got to come out and take care of business.
Yeah, it's the 120th edition. I didn't actually break it down year by year, but since they quit wearing leather helmets, I would assume the Buckeyes lead the series. But now don't ask a Michigan man that, because they will tell you that otherwise. And it's also been like 4,000 in some days since Michigan has legitimately beaten Ohio State. That's a conversation for an entirely different day. Buckeyes roll in, playing some really good ball. Favored by 20.5. We've had some issues throughout the year, but obviously, you're building toward this game all year. Come in at 10-1. Team Up North comes in at 6-5. At least they might not have to leave their home state for their bowl game. I mean, the Little Caesars Bowl. I mean, kudos to them. From Natty to the toilet bowl, basically.
Yeah.
You can throw it all out the window, though. We talked to Nate Oliver, we talked to Brian Roll this week, and those guys told you it's not a game, it's the game. Before we dive into the logistics of this year's edition, you kind of hit on it with watching the game with your dad. What does the game mean to you?
Yeah, man. This is to me, this game is what really got me into football, plus loving Eric Metcalf with the Browns. I grew up, seeing Desmond Howard doing the Heisman in the end zone. I know, there was a lot of different things that went on with Michigan over the years, but like that was something, Charles Woodson, him and David Boston fighting, you know what I mean? Like seeing those things growing up, it was just something that I always looked forward to each and every year. And I actually grew up like idolizing those two, Desmond Howard and Charles Woodson. Like those were two of my favorite players. And my dad set me straight, and he said, "Listen, we don't root for that team." And then once Tressel got there, man, it just took it to another level, and it was almost like an obsession for me. I think I remember the 1 verse 2 like it was yesterday. And it's just something that I look forward to every single year. My entire family's Buckeye fans, and so we love football. We love the Buckeyes, and it's just great, man. It means a lot, and it has a lot to do with why I love the game of football, man. What about you, man? What's it mean to you?
It's really weird because growing up, my dad was not a football fan really, but this was one game he would always watch. For whatever reason, and for me, like as a, let's say, more than casual Buckeye fan, not to toot my own horn, I just love the stories that come out of this game. Nobody knew who Chris Olave was until the Michigan game. And hell, they got his name wrong on the broadcast because nobody knew who he was. It was a duplicate number situation. Just the moments. oh, it's too far down the wall. The Anthony Gonzalez catch,
Man.
against Michigan. I got a buddy who punted for the Buckeyes. Later became a photographer, and like that photo kind of made him because he got the best photo of it. Antonio Pittman with the whole team behind him. Paris Campbell chucking the deuces. Seeing, until lately, it was always the Ohio kids that go to Michigan and thrive. Desmond, Charles, they had a couple linemen. Jake Butt, who we've made no secrets about, that we think he's doing well as a commentator. But then, you had Mike Weber. You had Damon Webb. Those guys, come from Michigan to Ohio.
Yeah.
And kind of make their mark. So it's just the bitterness, man. I've made no bones about it that I think, there are a lot of Ohio State fans who are out there a little bit, but this is one time it's okay. And
okay.
Especially with what we're dealing with the team up north right now and what's going to be staring them down the barrel, but then I'll never forget things like Harbaugh ducking Ohio State during COVID.
Yeah, man.
Saved his job and essentially began this whole situation that may set their program back a few years.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and the one thing that also stands out to me, man, is Coach Cooper gets a bad rep, obviously. Didn't have the best record against Michigan, or the team up north. But if you see him walking around the Woody, I mean, he's there all the time. I mean, he makes it known, how much he despises them. But to see somebody who was ridiculed by Buckeye Nation and to still actually care so deeply about their rivalry, like that was something I always respected about, Coach Cooper as I've gotten older. And then obviously you hear, the stories with Coach Tress, his introductory press conference or introductory, at the basketball game when he gets the job and he's really unknown guy from Youngstown State. And he just comes out and says, like, this is not a game that we're going to lose. We're going to beat that team up north. And, those are things that I will always remember. And I love the banter that can go on between, our buddies who are Michigan fans. And, it's always fun. There's a few people that have hit me up this week still talking trash. Our guy Bryson Lawrence, his brother Q, is on Facebook talking crazy right now. Like I love seeing that stuff, man, because to me, good, bad, or indifferent, like I think this is the greatest rivalry in sports. I think, growing up in Ohio, growing up in Michigan, growing up in the Midwest in general, like this is just something that is looked forward to, whether you're a fan of either team or not. And I think, I don't think there are rivalries out there that can really compete with that. I think there are other good rivalries, but like this one will cost you a job if you don't win it. And like those are the things that I don't think people really pay attention to. You heard Ryan Day the other in his he did a press conference or some interview the other day, and he talked about how this game was on the same level of his father dying.
Yeah.
And we all know the story about, his dad. And so for his family, like this game is up there with the loss of his father. Like that is just like mind blowing. And yet, we call for his head all the time, but this is a guy he does know the importance of this game. Like he put it on the same level of his father who tragically died. And so it's just like, man, like it's just crazy to think about what this game means to so many people.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great point, talking about what Ryan Day, said and verbalized. We talked about it with the guys this week. I hate to pick on Kyle McCord. But to refer to it as just another game, it's not. And then, you've got Will Howard, who has been here, a year, not even. saying all the right things. You've got a senior class who doesn't have gold pants, which is mind blowing. It's going to be interesting. Anytime there's such a discrepancy or a perceived discrepancy, between the two teams, you always worry about what, especially those guys, will do. Because, you just watch back, hell, they took J.K. Dobbins' shoe off.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to worry about what they're going to try to do. Just like the whole Marcus Hall, Dontre Wilson fight, Michigan instigated that.
Oh, yeah.
You had a couple years ago in the corner of the end zone, Cam Brown is standing there like 4-on-1. And lo and behold, there was nobody to be seen. Because, like we've said all season long, we didn't have any dogs. We had a bunch of choir boys. I mean, so it's going to be who executes, but who's tough.
Yeah.
I saw an interesting stat today about the series. Since the year 2000, the team who wins the rushing battle is 22-1.
Oh, yeah.
In the game.
Oh, yeah.
And I've cracked jokes all year long about how inept the Michigan offense looks, but don't let that distract you from the fact they got two really, really good running backs.
Yeah, they've got two really good running backs and Mullings and Donovan Edwards. We know what Donovan has done against us the last couple years. He is underperformed this year, but you better believe he's going to be ready to go for this game. And Mullings is he's a former linebacker who is a bruiser when he gets the ball. It's going to be tough to bring down. The arm tackles aren't going to work with them. I think, and I've said it before, you've said it before, but when we get into these big matchups, the run game is always going to be the difference maker. And even if it's not, rushing for 150 yards plus, you saw it last week against Indiana. We only had 100, I believe, like 16 or 17 yards rushing, but we held Indiana to under, like 50, right? And so,
right.
And so those things are very important for this game. And I think the team up north is really going to try to slow things down. They know what they're going up against on offense. They know that our defense is coming and playing really well right now. So I could see them definitely trying to slow things down, take the air out of the ball, take the air out of the clock, and really limit the amount of possessions that we get on offense. And I know we're getting ready to talk about it, but their defense is still really good. Like we're not gonna run away from that. I think their defense, especially their interior defensive line, is really solid. And so this is not going to be some cakewalk game. I think the Buckeyes know that, though. I think with the way that they're talking, they're not talking like they have in the last 3 years. Just coming out and saying, Jack Sawyer, we just beat a top 5 team, and he is immediately focused on this week, right? They know what's at stake. They know who they are going up against. They know what they want. I saw a picture the other day of Jim Tressel when he came back and was honored. Gosh, I forget when it was. It might have been the last couple of years. I can't remember, but he came back. It was a big deal. The 2002 national championship team was back. If you zoom in on the picture that they took, there's a picture of his wife.
Yes.
And his wife has all the gold pants on that
9 of them.
Yeah, around on her necklace. And it was like the coolest thing ever, because if you zoom in on it, you can just see. And like, that's what this means. And so, we played Woody Hayes. We talk about Tress. We talk about Urban. Like, it comes down to straight toughness, man. And that's what the run game is. We've got to be able to run the ball against these guys. And I don't think it's going to be us attacking in the middle, with Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant on the inside, two of the best defensive tackles in the country. I think we're going to attack on the edges. I think we're going to see a lot of reverses, getting creative with JJ and Emeka, so that we can win that rushing battle. And so that's something that's going to be paramount for us to come out with the victory.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's really funny as I dove into the numbers tonight, getting ready. For as good as we think their defense is, the numbers kind of tell us another story. Yes, they have 31 sacks, 69 TFLs, so they are actually tied with Indiana as far as sacks go. But they're giving up 21 and a half points a game, almost 100 yards on the ground, and 223 yards a game through the air.
Yeah.
It's there for the taking. You look at their defense. Their leading tacklers, Ernest Hausman, 74 total. And the thing that really jumped out to me, though, we focus on Grant and Graham, but the dude on their defense that scares me is Josiah Stewart.
Yeah, he's good.
13 TFLs, 8.5 sacks. So to put that into perspective, Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham have a combined 13 TFLs and 6.5 tackles for loss.
Yeah. They're listen. Their defensive line is very solid. We cannot deny that. But you brought up a great point, man. Like I have a healthy respect for their defense. Wink Martindale is a good coordinator. He's been doing this thing for a long time. He's well respected. They definitely miss Jesse Minter. That's for sure.
And Connor Stallions.
And yeah. But they're defensive line wise, they're going to be ready to go. They understand what we have up front. They're going to try to maul Hinsman and Sareveld. And so I will be interested to see how the Buckeyes are going to attack that. I just was pouring through some box scores. And I just went back to the Washington game. The team up north lost 27-17. They actually won the rushing battle in that game. Total of 174 rushing yards versus 114 for Washington. But in the passing game, Washington threw for 315. They threw for 113. And I think this is going to be a game where you're going to see a lot of balance, but they're not going to be afraid. If Will Howard's in the groove, I could definitely see them letting him spin it a little bit, weather pending. And I think you could see a really big game out of him. That could be the difference.
Yeah. So I am, I've made no bones about it how much I've became a fan of Will Howard this season. You look at, let me see if I can pull this up real quick and show the camera his Instagram today, even. He is just that dude. So this isn't going to show up real well, but it's a panoramic photo of him and the whole offensive line is kind of over here. And it just says, "War ready for the love game week." That is a dude who has been in this program for a year.
Yeah.
And he has already fully embraced the rivalry.
Yeah.
And Will Howard has shown a lot of dog this year. And
yeah,
I think Will Howard might possibly be the difference in this game.
Oh, I think so too. I think he will be the difference. I think this is going to be a game where I think Trey gets a couple big plays. I think Quinshawn is our grinder. I think he's going to be really amped up for this moment. He's got to have a big game. The last two, he's not had the best. He's missed some cuts, missed some holes, but I think this is going to be a game where Quinshawn balls out as well. But I think it's going to come down to Will Howard. Is he going to turn over the ball? Is he not going to turn over the ball? Right? How's he going to respond if we do face some adversity? Is he going to be able to help us start fast? That's the big thing. I think if we can jump up on these guys, first drive of the game, go down and score 7, second drive of the game, go down and score 7 again and be up, 14-0 or 14-3. Now you're putting them behind the 8 ball to do something that they don't really like doing, and that's throwing the ball. And so Will Howard is going to be the X factor, just like he was in the Penn State game. It was very clear. We're down 10-0. He knew what he had to do. He stepped up. He led us to victory, and then our offensive line and our running game closed it out. I think this could be a very similar type of game. And so Will Howard's definitely got to be ready to play, and I think he will be. I just hope he's not pressing and
Right.
trying to do too much for his brothers.
Yeah, absolutely. To dive into, Michigan just a little bit deeper. Offensively, they're only scoring 23 points a game, which, I mean, as we've said all year, they don't realize you're allowed to throw the football forward a lot of times. Davis Warren has thrown 6 touchdowns and 7 picks. Now, granted, with Davis Warren, it's been a revolving door of quarterbacks. You're going to see Alex Orji, and you're going to see Alex Orji throw the ball. There's no doubt about it because he hasn't all year. But as well, if I can call that, Jim Knowles can call that. I mean, we're not going to sit there and just play the run. The 2 running backs, Mullings and Donovan Edwards, 1,400 yards combined, 15 touchdowns between the 2 of them. Edwards has had kind of a down year, but Edwards is kind of like a Travion, where he's very good catching the ball out of the backfield, very, very dangerous. We're going to have to commit a Sonny Styles, I'm assuming, to Colston Loveland. So that may open up, they may try to exploit that wheel route, stuff like that. So that's going to be Lathan and Sonny. Think about that. This year in the game, we are starting Lathan Ransom and Caleb Downs. Last year, we started Jalen McClain and Josh Proctor.
Yeah. It's crazy. I think, Colson Loveland's a real deal, man. I hope he finds his way to the shores of Lake Erie and plays for the Browns someday. I think he is a special, special player. And so I think you're going to see Caleb Downs on him quite a bit, honestly. I really do. I think, those are the matchups that that's what Caleb does. That's why he's up for the Jim Thorpe Award and all these top defensive back awards, because he's able to do that. And I think you're going to see a good mix of him and Lathan on Colson Loveland, and you're going to be able to, commit one of those guys to the box. Make no bones about it. What we have to do to win this game is we have to shut down the run game and force Davis Warren, whatever his name is. Davis Warren, is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. We've got to force him to beat us with his arm. The bottom line, he's not shown that he can do that against any other opponents this year. It's not a knock on him. Listen, his story. I'm not ever going to talk bad about a player. His story is crazy. Overcoming leukemia, being a walk-on, all those things. Like, listen, if you want to learn about being tough and being gritty, I'm sure that is a perfect guy to follow, because he's had to overcome so much stuff. But in the same token, that has not been a strength of theirs. And so that's what if I'm the defensive coordinator going into this game, what can I do to really load the box, shut these guys down, and force this guy to beat us with his arm? I don't know if they have the playmakers out on the edge that can go up top and beat us.
Right.
Now, I will say they're going to try. Obviously, with IGBs, 2 or 3 holding calls in a row, pass interference. We all saw what Oregon was able to do against Denzel Burke. I think since then, he's given up 1 or 2 big throws down the field, but he's played so much better. And so they're going to test us too down the field. But what can we do to really force them to have to beat us in the passing game, shut down that run game? I know Jim Knowles has got a lot of things in the tool belt right now. The clip has not been emptied, right? He can empty it this game. He can just let it all go this game. But the clip is still not empty. And so I will be interested to see what we do and what we commit to the run game, and what coverages you're going to see in the back end, because we definitely got to force them to beat us throwing the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to see. I don't ever want to see a player get hurt, but if Samaj Morgan gets absolutely obliterated, I would be okay with that today or Saturday. If you can get these guys down, I don't think they stand a chance.
Yeah.
With it being the game, and not being able to really dive into film things, I want to change it up a little bit.
Okay.
And play an advantage disadvantage.
All right.
When Ohio State has the ball, the advantage goes to the OSU offense or the Michigan defense?
I think the advantage definitely goes to the OSU offense. I think the O line and D line is pretty much a wash. I think their two interior guys really make them really good. But I think our offensive line has been playing a lot better these last few weeks. So I really think it's a wash. Maybe give a slight edge to Michigan, but I think our offensive line is ready for it. I think the difference is Will Howard and our guys out on the perimeter. I don't think they can cover our guys. The top three guys that we have, I think they're really going to struggle covering them. I think that's going to really open up things in the run game. And once Trey and Quinshawn get going, now, there's going to be a lot of trouble. So I definitely give, the edge to the Buckeye offense for sure.
Michigan offense, Ohio State defense.
Just definitely edge to the Buckeyes defense. I think you're going to see us get really aggressive, kind of like we did against Indiana in those passing situations. The key to this all is winning first down. You got to put Michigan in or situations where they are not wanting to do what they typically do. So if you can hold them, below that 3 yards, on first down, get them in the 2nd and 7, get them in the 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7. You're putting them in those in-between stages that's not what they want to do. And I think when you get into those 3rd and 6, 7s and 8s, you can really get aggressive like you saw against Indiana with our defensive line. You'll see some exotic pressures. I guarantee you Knowles has some things that we have not seen all season long. And so I definitely think the edge goes to the Buckeyes in a big way, the Buckeye defense.
Yeah, you hit on something about them being able to cover the receivers. We still don't know if Will Johnson's going to play. I don't see a scenario where he does. I know Coach Crybaby up there said that he was trending, or Colston was trending the right way, and there was a chance Will would play. If you're Will Johnson, you haven't played meaningful football in like a month. You want to come back and guard Emeka, JJ, and Carnell. Stay with your business decision and
Absolutely.
sit this one out. And again, I don't blame it.
Nope.
It just hasn't worked for them this year.
No.
Why put yourself at risk? If the turf toe thing is real,
Yeah.
that's an injury that only heals with time. You can't,
Yep.
It's no different than somebody that cracks a rib or anything like that. You have to let that heal. A hammy, there's no way to treat a hammy. This game's going to be physical. It's going to be hard hitting. We saw it a couple years ago, our boy G Scott, right up in the middle of it all. If he gets say you're Will Johnson and you get cracked by G Scott and, now you get hurt, it's there. It's crazy to think, I don't even know the number of seniors that'll go through the festivities on Saturday. But man, it's wild. So something else I wanted to throw out there, like I said, since with the computer issues and such that we all are both having, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 questions.
Okay.
Are of either does this happen or an over under.
Okay.
We haven't done this one in a while, but because it's the game, does JJ Smith score a touchdown?
Yes. He scores 2.
Okay. Does Ohio State score a defense or special teams touchdown?
Oh, that's a tough one. That will see 2 punt returns for a touchdown in back-to-back weeks. But I'll give us one. I'll give us one. Somebody in the secondary will get a pick 6.
See, I like that one to be a scoop and score for some reason.
Okay. All right. There we go.
Does a player from either team get ejected?
Nah, I don't think so. I don't think so this year.
Even for a targeting?
Well, I mean, I hope not.
Right.
I hope not. But no, I don't think anybody gets ejected.
Over under 1.5 unsportsmanlike conduct penalties.
Over for sure. Definitely taking the over.
Over under Will Howard 3.5 total touchdowns.
I'm gonna go with the over. I'm gonna go with the over.
Does that get Will Howard sent to New York?
No, it doesn't. Unfortunately.
He's 5th in the betting odds right now.
Yeah, but I think they know who it's gonna go to.
I mean, we know who's winning. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong. If Travis Hunter does not win the Heisman, it's highway robbery.
It's most definitely highway
and that's
robbery.
not a knock on Ashton Genty by
No.
any stretch of the imagination. You know who's not winning it though? Cam Ward.
Yeah, I agree.
And then last but not least, because he's a narcissistic POS, and he actually was there last week, does Connor Stallions show up in the shoe on Saturday?
Oh, buddy. For his safety, if I were him, I would not show up. I would steer clear of the shoe. I would steer clear of Lane Avenue at all costs because it's not going to be good, man. It's not going to be good.
That would be insane if he did.
Yeah.
So obviously, now to kind of tie up the game, prediction time. Like I said, to start the line is Ohio State minus 20.5.
Okay.
With an over under of 43.5, which basically tells you that they don't think Michigan's going to score.
Yeah.
I really want to go somewhere along the lines of like 42-17. I really want to. I'm going to go 38-17.
Okay.
The Buckeyes win. And I hope to all that is holy, we see Ryan Day go for 2 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I'm not gonna jump out on the edge like our guy B Roll did.
Yes,
with the big score prediction. But I'm gonna go the Buckeyes 34, the team up north 13. I think we hold them to a couple field goals. I think they score a touchdown late. But I think the Buckeyes control the game just like they want to. I think if Ryan Day or Coach Day, has the opportunity to run it up a little bit, I think that he will. And I just want to tell you, Buckeye Nation, we need to be okay with that. I'm never going to be somebody who's a proponent of running up the score, but I think understanding, what he has dealt with, not just from, our fan base, but from the national perspective, the comparisons to Coach Cooper. I think if we get the opportunity to score some extra points at the end, I definitely think you're going to see him go out and do that. So I think it could be more than 34, but I think 34-13, Buckeyes control the game the whole time. And we get ready for the Big Ten championship.
Yeah. I would love nothing more than for Ryan Day to hang 100, to go back to that. It's crazy. He's 1-3 against them.
Yeah.
And if they don't come up with a reason to not play the game, during the COVID year, now you're 2-3, arguably.
Yep.
Harbaugh got canned. So who knows where you would go there. It's just really funny how the COVID year kind of adds a layer to the rivalry. You had the 10-year war. You had the game, the 1 versus 2 game. You had Desmond Howard doing his thing. And maybe that's the game he got PTSD and CTE and whatever the heck is making him as dumb as he is now. I will be very interested, though, to see what logic he gives to pick the team up north on Saturday, because he's not picking Ohio State to win.
No, he won't. He won't.
And I also find it kind of ironic that we don't see Charles Woodson on Big Noon Kickoff anymore, because I thought Charles Woodson was really good.
I think Charles Woodson was great.
Matt Leinart actually tweeted out a little bit ago. He goes, best rivalry in sports, Ohio State and Michigan, hands down. So I don't know if he's already in Columbus, which I don't know that Big Noon is actually there. I know the game, obviously Gus and Joel will be there.
Yeah.
but I don't know that Big Noon is there.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Which, I mean, that's what it is. That's whatever. I mean, it doesn't add or take away from the fact it's the game. It's going to be cold. It's going to be sunny, though. Massive recruiting list, Tunnel of Pride. You're going to have, former players out the wazoo. I was listening to The Fan today. Michael Bennett's back in town full-time now, and he was talking about how amped up he is.
There we go.
And that's a dude I could listen to all the time. He is such an intelligent young man.
Yeah.
I say young, and he's like 10 years younger than us.
Yeah.
Went to Howard, got his law degree.
Yep.
Back in town. So yeah, I mean, this kind of wraps up our 5th episode of the week, which is crazy.
Which is nuts, man. It's nuts.
So, that would not be possible without, the barn, Chris at the barn, Jake at Cornerstone as always. This week we also had our guy Evan Geyer and his friends over at Dostal and Kirk, chime in and help us prop up another couple episodes with Brian and Nate. You guys will hear this episode on Friday morning. It's currently Wednesday night at 10:15. We're ready to eat some turkey tomorrow and be thankful for everybody that supports us throughout this.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully our recap and opening drive episode is delightful. Hopefully we have a giant pancake turned by that time. Ryan Day hopefully gets a spatula out.
Yep.
And hopefully nobody turned any of our pancakes. But with that said, that's all I've got. What about you?
No, man, one quick thing, man. First off, I just want to say I'm thankful for my guy, Jeremy, right? I know I'm a sentimental guy. Everybody who plays football with me knows I'm a crier before or after games. Doesn't matter, win or loss. Coach Slate's in tears. It's just who I am, right? But, I was thinking about it today, man, like how much fun I'm having doing this. Couldn't think of a better person to do this alongside of. So we got some big things planned in the future. So just wanted to say I'm thankful for you. The other thing I wanted to say,
that.
Hey, no problem, man. The other thing I wanted to say, have you seen Maurice Claret on the sidelines?
Yes,
every game.
I love it.
How awesome is that?
I actually tweeted that Saturday. I knew he had been back around the program, which I think is fantastic.
Yep.
I don't think there's any other way to put that. Yeah, I saw him, and like he was almost in the coaching box. I mean,
he is in the coaching box. He's locked in, man.
But you listen to him talk, and he's made no bones about it. He's like, I will do whatever you need me to do.
Yeah.
And I know there's a stigma around Maurice. We're gonna divulge, we're gonna divert for a minute. Now you got me going about a dude I have grown to have a much admiration for. Maurice, in the NIL era, Maurice Claret would have been loaded.
Oh, he would have been balling.
Do I think the NIL era would have changed anything for Maurice? I don't. I think, that Maurice had such demons that, needed dealt with. But Ohio State screwed Maurice. If you haven't watched the Youngstown Boys 30 for 30, and I'm going to guess there are some of you guys that are listening to us that probably haven't, because I know some of our listeners that are newer Buckeye fans. Go check it out. You want to hear about a screw job. When the school would not use the emergency fund they were permitted to use to fly Maurice to his friend's funeral. That's when the rails really started to go, to the wayside.
Yeah.
And to jump back in, and have no ties to Ryan Day. Claret only played 1 year in uniform at Ohio State with all the BS that he dealt with. And you would think this dude was a 5 or 6 year guy.
Yep. Yeah, it's pretty cool, man. I love seeing him, on the sideline. There was the touchdown Trey had last week. You see they pan to Coach Day on the sideline. He's all pumped up, and then there's Maurice in the background, man. And I think, you see him in pictures with recruits and, just interacting with the players, man. Like that is pretty cool, man, to have somebody of his experience to come back, to feel welcomed back. And, I wish and I hope that they do the same for people like TP, bring Devere Posey around a lot more, those type of guys, man, who've done, a lot of good things for the Buckeyes as far as on the field and wearing the uniform. I'm excited to see these type of guys get back there, and just show the brotherhood. And it's pretty cool, man. But yeah, I was just thinking about that today, man. I went back and I was watching some YouTube clips of the game, just to refresh my memory on everything that happened. And, they panned to him and I was like, man, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I love it. I'm with you. I've been fortunate enough to meet TP a few times. Pretty quiet dude, honestly.
Yeah.
Devere, went up in Canada, balled out. I think he's back in Ohio now.
Yep, doing some radio stuff.
I've met Solomon Thomas, who was part of Tatgate. Another dude who is great. Those guys, again, what they did shouldn't matter.
Nope.
They were in an era where Cam Newton's father got handed an offering plate, but because it went to his dad, it's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah, I'm sure Maurice will be there on Saturday.
Oh yeah.
That guy is probably, kind of an unheralded, give him a staff position at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I too, to get back to what you said, I am thankful for you for, with this, we had talked about it forever and we finally just, I think it was almost like a year ago now that I actually created the page.
Yep.
So it took us a while to work, make sure we did it the way we wanted to. And now we're getting real comfortable to the point of it's like, it's just part of the weekly routine.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find some ways to bridge out and do some other stuff during the off season. I started following some new accounts on X today. We've talked about, the memorabilia stuff, trying to tie some of that in. So that might be good the off season. I always have my random pickups laying around. So can't go wrong with Kate Stover. Just got that in the mail this week, just random. But yeah, we will see you guys at the beginning of the week with an opening drive, hopefully victory edition, and we're headed to the rematch with Oregon if all goes as planned. We will see you guys.